All right, I think it's probably agreed that Bob Carr's arrival on the scene has lifted the morale within the Labor Party, but then, of course, he went on Sky TV with Graham Richardson and he was thinking out loud about the prospect of Papua New Guinea delaying their elections and said this.
You've got Australia placed in a position where we'd have no alternative but to organise the world to condemn and isolate Papua New Guinea. We'd be in a position of having to consider sanctions. So I take this opportunity to urge the government to see that those elections take place, keeping Papua New Guinea in the cycle of 5-yearly elections.
Now, Nikki, even if there was some sort of signal that Papua New Guinea was considering delaying their elections, and I don't think there are any signals, why would we need to round up the entire world to give them a whack? Couldn't we inflict a bit of damage ourselves?
Seemed like a bit of overkill to me to mobilise the world against, one tiny little state. And he said it in all seriousness too. I mean, that was the thing that was most surprising about it. He'd obviously given it some thought before he said it, but it was really silly and off-key. And
he's been retreating ever since.
He has. I think his sort of note to self, I am no longer writing a blog, I am no longer writing a blog. But and he did a couple of interviews in the weekend papers where he was much, much more cautious and made sort of self-deprecating comments like he was getting stuffed full of information, so he felt like a foie gras goose, and that he was concerned about the world's oceans but stayed away from anything controversial like that. So I think maybe it was an early lesson that he's now learnt.
How much time has he got to learn these lessons, Malcolm?
Look, I think he'll be a pretty quick learn, but he's got to, as Nikki indicated, got to curb himself a bit. I think he was the enthusiasm of the new chum, and it's not unknown for... Look, foreign affairs is a very difficult post because you sit there and you think you're mobilising the world, as he clearly did think. I mean, forget Syria. Port Moresby is where the action is, kids. And he's got to get over that. But look, essentially, he'll be taking all sorts of advice from Foreign Affairs and probably just be doing what they tell him to do.
The best advice is head down, bum up. Get across your brief and be very careful what you say. I mean, it was Bill Hayden who said years ago, words are bullets in diplomacy, and he hasn't learnt that yet.
But I think he has now.
Well, we wait and see.
But will we see him focusing on domestic politics as well? I mean, Alexander Downer did that very effectively. Is it wise for Bob Carr to take that sort of approach?
Look, I think in that first press conference he had with Julia Gillard, he said words to the effect that as state opposition leader and a premier, he learned the truths of suburbia and regional Australia about what they thought of Australia, and I think he does have an ability to relay those truths or those government messages on a broader domestic stage. And I think the Labor Party would be unwise if they didn't use him for that.
He's also said that he was one of the authors of that review after the election loss, and he wants to be a bit of a healing force within the party, which Lord knows they could do with.
But his first foray into domestic politics was on Tuesday when the news poll came out. And at his doorstep, he was asked 2 questions about Afghanistan and the massacre that had occurred there, which was, I think, a pretty big deal. And he skated over that to comment on news poll and then to deliver this tortured analogy about Abbott and Worth Circus, and which Malcolm finds incredibly amusing.
I thought it was brilliant.
But I thought was pretty pathetic. And
see, Barry, what Nikki prefers is on those morning doorstops when people arrive, are these 2 lines of rank and file chumps with their Romeo sheets of party.
Not true.
The government believes we should. Hold on a minute. We should, Tony
I
Abbott is going
like them to be funny.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It wasn't funny. It was tortured, and he'd been asked a serious question about something else, which he should have taken the trouble to answer, and forgotten.
He did
about
answer.
This
You said he did. He did
I'd
too.
pay for my $5.
No, he didn't answer.
Look, I got to tell you, it was a breath of fresh air.
Next topic, and we'll call the next topic Costello-Gonski.
Well, that's true. Peter Costello's jokes you used to laugh at.